Meteorologist thing. What's up, everybody? Hey, I wanted to go live today. I wanted to talk a little bit about teaching. And look, obviously, we're in, I don't know, however you want to describe this time that we're in. We're in a time of upheaval. We're in a time of natural disaster. We're in a time of opportunity, however you want to describe it. We are in interesting times in the classic, may you live in interesting times, kind of epithet there, right? We're in interesting times, and interesting times more than anything, right, are times when teaching is critical. In teaching as a broad concept, right? Meaning like, yeah, to a class or, you run a course or whatever, but to your friends and family and to people, just a one-on-one conversation with a friend or someone you don't know, someone you just met, someone on the bus, right? The ability to expand knowledge by sharing it. That's what teaching is. And teaching is so important in times like this. So many of us are kind of having these complicated conversations, these difficult conversations with people that might not agree with us, right? Or we're getting into online discussions about stuff that we didn't know about, or we're coming across information that makes us feel uncomfortable, right? It's like, this is one of my kind of metrics for life is how often do I come across information that makes me profoundly uncomfortable, right? Like, I'll give you an example. Like right now, there's a lot of conversation around the police and the militarization of the police. And do we defund the police, or do we reform the police, or do we do nothing with the police? Or, how do the police fit into everyday life? And I've got to say, like many people, seeing what I see online and hearing reports of the protests and stuff, it's really changed the way I think about policing. I was recommended a book recently by my friend Adam Washington, and reading it, and some information in there that kind of makes me uncomfortable, right? In the sense that, like, well, I haven't really thought about policing in that way, and God, what would it really be like if there wasn't a police, and what would you do, and what would the second order or third order consequences of that be? And I'm kind of struggling with those ideas, right? And that's a beautiful thing. It is a beautiful thing to struggle with new ideas. You don't have to come out in favor of, you can come out against it. I feel the same way. Lots of people like to trash talk Ayn Rand. And I'm not a huge Ayn Rand fan by any means, but many people haven't actually read Ayn Rand that think she's a jerk, right? And Ayn Rand is one of those people where you can read her and be completely against her philosophy and how she views the world. You can think she's absolutely wrong, but she's very persuasive when you actually read her. And that struggle is important. It's important to struggle with those ideas, right? Even if all you want to do is strengthen your convictions and stuff you already believe. Well, the way you do that is by struggling with these ideas. And the way we come across these ideas, the way we get into this struggle is through teaching. Okay, so teaching is super important. All I'm saying is, like, now is the time you should be struggling with ideas. You should be wrestling with the big important questions of your life. This is what life is all about. This is what the whole point is, right? To learn and grow. And so you got to be doing this. And one of the ways that we all come across these ideas and books and figures that we disagree with and agree with and we struggle with and we wrestle with, it's through teaching. People take us aside and say, hey, like, there's more out there. There's ideas out there. There are people out there that think differently from you, and engaging with those ideas is incredible. It's an incredible part of being alive. And so many of us, if you're watching this right now, right, so many of us have things to teach, but we don't teach them because we don't think of ourselves as the teacher. Right? We have like a conception of the teacher as the authority figure, the person that stands in front of the class, is like, wrap the desk and say, like, ladies and gentlemen, and they give a speech and they have a whole thing, and you have to have mastered it. You have to have mastered it to teach it. That's the idea, right? We have all these kind of biases against teaching in our culture, in American culture anyway. We always say, like, those who can't do, teach, hardy har har, right? But those who can do today, they got taught by somebody. They got taught by somebody. Teaching is a critical part of that chain. And yeah, there are different skill sets. Sometimes the person that's like the professional basketball player, they've got a basketball coach that couldn't play 2 seconds in the NBA, right? They're different skill sets for a reason. In any case, holding yourself back from teaching is not great for the rest of society. Like, we need you. I need you to tell me what you know. And like I said, like, I don't have to agree with you, but that struggle is where all the growth happens. So something I want to kind of put out there is, as a kind of mental model you can use for yourself, right, is don't think about you teach the finished thing. You teach the finished body of knowledge. You teach the thing you've mastered. Think about teaching your learning process. As you learn, as you grow, as something comes in, put it out there. Formalize it, put it in your own words, and teach it. And if you are wrong, someone will tell you. This is great. This is the great part of it. If you are wrong, someone will tell you and you will learn faster. And if you are right, you spread that information. This is something I do. I'm doing this right now. In Better Questions email, I send them out every Wednesday, right? They go out every Wednesday at 6 a.m. You can sign up at betterquestionsemail.com. Right now, I am teaching a series of mental models about thinking about risk, because I am struggling with how I think about coronavirus and COVID-19 and the risks I'm willing to take on and the risks I'm not, and what do I do with my family? And I have a really hard time thinking through all that. So I deliberately created a project in which I would have to learn the subjects involved in that, risk management, game theory, all this stuff, right? I would have to learn those in order to teach them. And as I'm writing about it and teaching it, I'm not saying I'm the expert, here's everything. I say in every email, like, I am still learning this. This doesn't come naturally to me. And the emails I get in response are amazing. And people say, like, yes, this is something, that's something I totally noticed. And I said one out last week about the differences between median and average and mode and mean and all this stuff. And somebody sent me back an email that said, I think you might have messed this up. And we were discussing it back and forth and clarifying my own thought process. Right? So nothing helps you learn faster than teaching, but nothing helps the world learn faster than you teaching. So waiting till you finish, first of all, you never finish. You never feel like you've mastered everything. And then secondly, you're depriving the rest of us of your unique take on things. So yeah, like, it might be uncomfortable and you might be wrong. You might get called out on being wrong, right? And you might find yourself advancing far faster than you expected, learning far more than you expected, broadening your horizons. I mean, it's an incredible process. I couldn't believe more deeply in the ethical responsibility we have to teach each other and the good that can do in the world. So if you are waiting on someone to give you permission to start a blog or an email newsletter or start posting on Twitter or start posting on Facebook or do your YouTube thing, whatever it is, if you are waiting for someone to give you permission, I give you permission. Post your stuff and let's do this together. Does that make sense? I love you, as always. I hope you're well.